Hello and welcome back to another history video. Now this here obviously is the bocage, the kind of hetero country that is very prevalent in Normandy. And one of the battles that was most characterized by this was the Battle of St. Lo, which mostly took place during the July of 1944 after D-Day. For a different project I researched that battle semi-recently, especially the role of the US 29th Infantry Division in this battle. Now, what stood out to me there is that when the US went into Normandy, even though this is like this common weapon in popular culture, the US infantry actually was not supposed to have Thompsons. So the infantry squads were basically all Garans and then one BAR later too. So no Thompsons there. And one source said that the 29th Infantry went into the hetero terrain without any submachine guns. No Thompsons, no grease guns. But they changed their mind quite quickly because of, and I quote, the big amount of German machine pistols. So actually what then happened is that they went back to the beaches, or not, of course not the whole division, like they sent people back to the beaches to get Thompsons from rear area troops. Like for example, AA gunners apparently had Thompsons and they were guarding the beaches and had nothing to do, obviously. So they had to trade Thompsons from there. Now in July 1944, the American TOE was actually changed to include Thompsons for the infantry. Still, what kind of made me think here is that they talked so much about German machine pistols. Why did they leave such a big impression? Well, let's look at it, because the main division defending St. Lo at the time was the German 3rd Fallschirmjaeger, so parachute division, and we can look at their documents to see how these were actually equipped for the hetero fighting. So this is the divisional report from May 1944, so directly before the landing, so this is basically full strength. One thing you will immediately notice is that this is in black and white. This is because this is not from the German archives, this is actually from the American archives. So this is a captured German document which was photographed, I don't know, maybe in either during the war or maybe in the 50s, and archived. And I think the Germans often got their original documents back, but the point is it was digitized in this black and white form. So yeah, so far we have looked at Panzer divisions. You can see here as well we have 3 rifle regiments, each with 3 battalions, and each battalion with 4 companies. We have an artillery battalion here, which is way smaller than in a Panzer division, which makes sense on the account that you have to fly them in. And in fact, if we look at the artillery here, we have 3 light batteries of 4 guns, and there's a symbol here that they are air transportable. So yeah, other than that, we have a parachute pioneer battalion here, there's communication troops and so on. This AA battalion was apparently not there yet in Normandy during May 1944, they came in later. We have an anti-tank battalion here with 75mm guns and some machine guns in support. Also air transportable. Okay, let's look at the actual line infantry of a Fallschirmjäger unit. And there's some interesting things here. First of all, for each company, we get the mortars. So they have, for example, this company here in the 1st Battalion, 9th Fallschirmjäger Regiment. They have 9 light machine guns, 1 medium mortar. This would have been an 80mm mortar, but a shortened version compared to the one that the normal infantry used. These were directly attached to Fallschirmjäger platoons or companies. And as you can see here, they also have medium mortars here in the heavy the heavy company, and also LGs. So these would be 75mm Leichtgeschütze or recoilless guns, which were mostly special to the Fallschirmjäger. Maybe some other kind of units use them as well, but mostly Fallschirmjäger. You can also see that some of these normal rifle companies also have some heavy machine guns, so 1 heavy machine gun and 8 light ones. Now this is already kind of weird. Now the TOE of Fallschirmjäger units is somewhat of a mystery because not all of them exist anymore. But the one that I know from 1944 said that each Fallschirmjäger squad or Gruppe would have 2 light machine guns, much like a Panzer Grenadier unit. Which would mean, if we assume for each of these companies 3 platoons with 3 squads, so we have 2 times 3 per platoon, 6 per platoon, times 3 would be 18 per company. Not counting maybe reserve weapons, but we only have 9 here, even only 7 here. And if we look, some of them have more, like these have 11, 12, 13, but none of them really come close to 18. So this already shows that this TOE with the 2 machine guns probably was not followed, or, second possibility, they had fewer squads due to manpower issues, right? Although it's hard to tell because in black and white it doesn't seem like they had big manpower issues at this point, before D-Day. After that, obviously. So we will come back to this later. Some other interesting things we have here in support: 10.5 centimeter guns of some description, which have this symbol, which I haven't seen much before. I think these might also be recoilless guns. Now, if we look, there was a 105 millimeter recoilless gun. It would have been this one. So these would be in support on a regimental level, which is quite interesting. These are fairly uncommon. But each regiment had a few of these in support. It's kind of hard to see because of the, or the amount is hard to see because of the bad quality of the file. But yeah, quite interesting stuff here. Another thing that I remember, that here these are, I think, normal infantry guns or maybe anti-tank guns, but the point is that 2 Russian ones apparently. Although it doesn't say a different caliber, so that's a bit weird. But yeah, so there was some captured stuff here. Anyway, so how were the infantry squads actually organized? Or, well, that's usually hard to tell. But here we actually have more information than in the other divisions that we looked at before. For one thing, we can look at the overall small arms report of this division. So, 10,000 carbines, 2,000 machine pistols, which is quite a lot. Quite a bunch of pistols as well. 431 sniper rifles. This is quite a few. And this is actually a feature that you'll see in Fallschirmjäger divisions a lot, as well as sometimes Mountaineer divisions. They tended to get more sniper rifles than the average German divisions. Then, quite interesting here, Fallschirmjägergewehre, 181. These obviously were the famous FG42 automatic rifles. In fact, this is one picture from Normandy, and there's also pictures of captured ones as well. This is the first version, sometimes it's called the Type E, the one with the metal buttstock and the reared pistol grip that was turned back. So not the one that we have in-game in Forgotten Op 2, but the earlier one. So 181, this is actually the highest number I have ever seen in one of these documents of FG42s. Then 500 G41s, also quite a few. Rifle grenades, 781, also quite a few. And flare guns. No captured weapons. Now, there's already some interesting stuff here. For one thing, we have this number 4 MP, machine pistole. We know for a fact that 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division got delivered before D-Day with a non-insignificant number of MP43s, basically SDG-44s. In early documents, and well, not early documents, but in terms of the development of the and issue of the SDG-44, in the earlier ones, when they were issued, they were often just counted as another machine pistol because they were still called MP43. The same is true, by the way, for the 1st SS Panzer Division, which also received MP43s and counted them just in one go with their machine pistols. So it's kind of hard to see which of these would be the normal MP40, which of these would be the newer MP43. I also imagine it might have caused some confusion in terms of resupply because they use different ammunition, right? So this is kind of weird, and but here's the thing: these are divisional documents, and we still have these because they had to be sent to higher up, organizations for an overall view of how strong a division was. There were also lower level documents down to the platoon level, but these very often do not exist anymore. However, Radius Mersch, our researcher, did find at one point a very interesting American report, an intelligence report, where they actually captured such a German document and translated it in order to, to give intelligence information. And this is for the 3rd Fallschirmjaeger Division. Prisoner of war interrogation report, captured document of a parachute unit shows the following TE for the platoon. 1 squad, 2 squad, 3 squad, and a platoon HQ. Now this is very interesting. For one thing, MP43, MP38 or MP40, they are told apart here. The same is true, which is very rarely the case, MG42s, MG34s told apart. Very interesting. One thing that caught my eye, French rifle. Now, just to remind you, they reported no captured weapons, so this confused me for a bit until I realized these were translated. Some American guy had to translate that stuff, and that guy did not know all the latest German weapons. If we look, for example, at this 1945 original German document, 4th Fallschirmjaeger Division, look at this here. We have S-Gewehre for semi-automatic rifles, 41 and 42, which is already wrong, by the way. And then down there, F and Gewehre, they were too lazy to write that down. F-Gewehre 42. Now, if you're an American guy and you see F-Gewehr and you don't know what it means, you don't think Fallschirmjägergewehr, you think French rifle because they used a lot of captured stuff. So my guess, and well, guess is probably too weak a word, my theory, which I can't entirely prove, but my theory is that these French rifles were FG42s. Which would make sense. What we also see is every squad only had one LMG, which is what we predicted from the numbers in this document here, right? They did not have two. However, they had instead in most of the squads either an FG42, or French rifle, as replacement for one of the MGs, or a rifle with a telescopic sight. Anyway, this is kind of hard to read, so in order to visualize this, I went to GIMP and I made this visualization. So this would have been the equipment of this German platoon. You had a platoon HQ, and you had 3 groups, and this would roughly have been, using German doctrine, how these were probably set up. 2 things I want to mention here. I assume here, because, one second, I assume here that these Very pistols, which would be a flare gun, and the pistols do not represent the primary equipment of one guy, but were carried, for example, by a squad leader. Now, there were older German TOEs where, for example, the machine gun assistant was only supposed to have a pistol and no rifle, but later ones didn't do that. And since this is late in the war, I'm gonna assume that. The second thing I want to mention, these are all icons from Forgotten Hope 2. And as I said, we only have the late version of the FG42. So this is technically wrong, but for our purposes, I think it's good enough. Okay, and another thing I want to mention. It just says rifle with telescopic sight. I put the K98K here, but there is a non-zero chance that this might have been a scoped FG42, which were produced. So, can't be ruled out. I think a K98K possibly more likely. Now, what is still kind of weird here is there's no G41s mentioned, and they had a lot of those. We know with some certainty one platoon within this division was set up like this, and I would say probably more, but this might have been how the squads and platoons in one regiment were set up. Maybe G41s were in the other regiment. and in place of the MP43. In fact, we have a similar American report for the 2nd Fallschirmjaeger Division, which, for example, was in Brest. And they did not receive any MP43s. And they use the G41s, or generally self-loading rifles, in a similar way as the MP43s here. So it seems quite possible to me that in other regiments the squads were set up slightly differently. So just gonna point that one out. Yeah, but okay. To come back to the initial point. Oh yeah, one thing I still wanted to show you. We have here one picture from the St. Lo area. These are American GIs with captured guns. So we have two K98Ks, one MP43, and this is the G41 Walther version. So yeah, this is probably taken from 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I thought this was quite interesting. I don't think this information is actually out there anywhere else. This is literally original research. It does show why apparently machine pistols made such a big impression on the Americans of the 29th Infantry Division during the St. Lo fighting. The 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division was very well equipped with light automatic firepower, which in the close combat environment of the Bocage was probably quite the advantage, especially because the Americans had a hard time of really bringing their big artillery advantage and tank advantage to bear here. So yeah, thought that was quite interesting. Hopefully you thought so as well. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a nice day.